Well, it's one summer at band camp.
We're on Google Live right now. YouTube Live.
Yeah, YouTube Live is one summer at band camp. All right, we're gonna go live on Facebook. And speed minus. Yes,
let me get your
3, 2, 1. Drum roll, please.
welcome to FreeZoneWith.
Yeah. Welcome to FreeZoneWith. We have the host with the most on the far end. We'll switch places also. Don't read anything into this. The host with the most. Melinda on the end. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Did y'all hear her? Speak up, Melinda. They say speak loud.
Oh, whoa. Hello, everybody.
All right. Hola, hola.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
And then we have Petra. No, we have Petra.
T-shirt.
I can't let them know I can get that right, okay? Because then she'll expect me to do it all the time, and I'm not good when you do it all the time. All right, and TNathan. Thank you for joining us. We have a long session because we have a lot of things to talk about tonight. And of course, we're going to start with our condolences goes out to all the families in Las Vegas who lost loved ones or loved ones that were injured. We would like to know our hearts and minds are with you. And my question is this a good time to talk about gun control? Is that acceptable? You know, you have 59 dead, over 575 injured. And, you know, I understand that this is not a good time to talk about gun control. So what we're going to talk about?
Gun control.
So, panels, ladies, what do you all think? Is this something that we need to talk about after 59 injured, being killed, and 527 are injured? Do we need to talk about it, or is it just not a good time?
We usually been talking about it yesterday or before that even. Still. So
True.
it's something that yeah, we should be talking about.
Yeah, because in the year 2016, we had 483 mass shootings, and so far this year we have had 273. If anybody would want, I'm going to try to get the map pull up here real quick so I can show y'all the demographics of this, because I actually shared this post earlier on Facebook, because, you know, we were talking about if the mass shootings were, I'm trying to get it, folks, I apologize, but you see this right here?
Right there.
I apologize, you see, well, it's hard to get.
Yeah, I see it there.
Okay, throughout the United States, we've had mass shootings all year long. You see that, Melinda? Okay, I'm seeing numbers of 250, 247, 267, 160. You know, these are the number of mass shootings throughout the year.
In those areas?
No, throughout the number that as it happened. Okay. In all honesty, if Columbine didn't start gun regulations, if Sandy Hook didn't start gun regulations, I do not know what's going to start gun regulations. I mean, we had a grade school with a mass murder of little children. So I don't know how much more straightforward we could be with this.
Well, this is what I found interesting. It's a stat I found. In April 28th of 1996, in Australia, they had the worst mass shooting that they had experienced in their existence, right? And 12 days later, they announced a bipartisan deal on sweeping gun control legislation.
Yes.
The government bought back over 1 million guns.
Yes.
And they haven't had a mass shooting since. That's one suggestion. My other suggestion was that I
Don't
talked
forget
about a year earlier. Hold on, say about earlier. I said every adult black male in this country, or black male of color in this country, went out and bought legally a semi-automatic rifle tomorrow. That, like Eric Benego said, that Congress would enact legislation by Friday. On
Friday? I think y'all give them credit.
Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday.
I think y'all give them credit. I think it'd be done. I mean, I think they'd have a special session, and within about the next 8 hours, everything would be done for y'all.
Yeah, forget whatever they already was talking about.
Yeah.
It was like, oh.
I mean, there is no way.
There's a precedent for that, because if you look at what California doing Ronald Reagan's governorship with when the Black Panther movement was coming into existence, and they took automatic weapons into the state capitol. You know, that didn't go over too well.
I mean,
there was gun legislation talked about after that. After that day, when the Black Panthers showed up at the legislative session with their legal right to bear arms. So I look at this, and this is a point. Even though I also want to point out that we are calling this and I did a post on this earlier, even before this. This is not the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. So it's horrible. I'm not trying to belittle it at all in any way, shape, or form. But these are things have been going on, and we have accepted. Like you said, what was that number? 400 and how many per year?
Last year was like
438 or something.
Yeah.
And we seem that's more than there are days of the year. I mean, we have become that desensitized to these levels of mass shootings that we are like, we're ready. We just say, okay, well, it's about time, a mass shooting. This man had 42 guns in his home. I mean, who does this? Short of you being a military arsenal, who has 42 guns? For what purpose? How many rabbits and deer do you shoot a year? I don't know. I don't know where this conversation goes when we talk about gun control. And then I take a post that I should have known that 45 wasn't going to really say anything about it when he takes $30 million from the NRA doing his campaign when he's running. So it's not like he's going to address it. And I listened to him address the nation, and not one time did I hear anything about automatic weapons or anything about the fact that this was domestic terrorism. And that really is one of the things that I think about how after the Pulse nightclub shooting, he was very critical of President Obama not calling it fundamental extreme Islam terrorists, right?
I have a simple solution to this whole problem.
He didn't say that. So he didn't say domestic terrorism.
I don't even know why we're having such an issue with this discussion. I say that we hand everybody in America a gun, criminal, child, everybody across the board, because it's the American right that we just mass hand out. We already have enough guns produced in America that I think every American within the United States borders, plus outside the rest of the world, probably have about 10 to 15 guns apiece. So I really don't. I don't know where we're not going with this. I think that we could just hand out guns and pray or do whatever y'all do to hope for the best, because at this point in time, we're the Wild West, okay? We've had 470 mass shootings, and we're focusing on one.
No, we're not focusing.
Well, the media is focusing on Las
Vegas. Because it's a high-profile city, I understand that. But we're not focusing. My conversation is not about one. Mine is about there must be something done to facilitate the fact that we are allowing people access to weapons that outside of the military I see no reason for in the civilian West sector. I don't see that. I mean, in the kids that are able to make a sub-automatic machine gun, a sub-automatic weapon into a fully automatic weapon. I don't understand their purpose outside of the military. I don't understand what the NRA is protecting when it says gun rights, because we have a right to bear arms. They always talk about the Second Amendment. I don't think people read the Second Amendment because it says we have a right to a well-armed militia.
Yes,
and the militia has a point. That doesn't mean that we just allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry who thinks they need a gun to have a semi-automatic Uzi.
I've always been told the militia is the National Guard of the, within.
Well, I mean, when you look at the time period that the Constitution evolved in, it was, right after the Revolutionary War, and they were talking about well-armed militia as an opposing another government entity taking over, and therefore the citizens would be able to arm themselves. Well, if that's the case, which is fine, well, we should do like Israel and have mandatory consignment into the military at age 18, so people know how to use them. What we're having is a culture of people who have no respect or appreciation for guns. They're allowed to have them. And then I guess part of my issue is, I don't know if this case, and I'll wait to see if he had a legal permit for 42 guns, which I don't understand. But the idea that we're producing these weapons and handing them to civilians, even in a legal capacity, opens itself up to so much problems.
Yeah,
it's legal, but why is it legal? Why do you, like I said, why do I need 42 guns?
As a gun person, I have an uncle that's a gun collector, that has, I'm not even going into it, but he's got a pretty big gun collection, But I don't know what the answer is on this. I don't believe in necessarily taking away all guns. But I also don't believe in, silencers being sold, conversion kits being sold, where you can convert a semi-automatic 30-06 into a fully automatic within 20 minutes, okay? You defeat the whole purpose of outlawing automatics. Especially when it's like 55 or 75 bucks, okay? I don't think people understand the gun culture. I don't think a lot of people are educated enough to speak on it. They don't realize, I see all these people, and this isn't criticizing any one particular group, but I see a lot of people saying, well, we need to take away all the guns. Then I see the other side saying that we need to keep all the guns. Both sides are extremists.
Both sides are extremists because we're at extreme points. These conversations are not taking place in a rational environment. We look at the fact, and I do agree with you, Clyde. Clyde says registered guns. Report when they are out of possession, buy, sell, or theft. Do not make any exceptions for this. And I agree. I believe some of the problem is that it's the illegal weapons, sure, that is a lot of the gun violence and the gang violence on the streets. But why are we even having an environment where you can go and buy a weapon that is no other point than to kill a human being with? You're not hunting with these weapons. I'm not saying about taking anybody's shotgun they're going hunting with. I'm not saying that I don't understand business owners. As a business owner that has a weapon when they're going to make deposits, and I understand that. But 42 rifles, assault rifles, or weapons, and I can't conceive that. I can't conceive you not being an armory and having 42 weapons at your house.
I mean, what's the limit though? What's the number?
You're right. And it's not that it's the limit. It's that some things I don't think people. Don't get me wrong, I understand that it's taboo for anybody to question the Constitution of the United States. I get it, it's taboo, okay? But my thing is that we're dealing with issues that we never had to arrive in the formation of the Constitution of the United States. We didn't have to deal with the fact that you're gonna have 42 guns at your home, automatic assault weapons that are able to fire 200 rounds in less than 20 seconds. Those things didn't exist. So you have to keep it moving to the fact that you have to say, hey, this doesn't make sense.
Well, I think ultimately, as a hunter, as a person that goes up and likes love the woods, I think one of the solutions is make unconvertible rifles first off, where you cannot convert them to automatic. I'm sure there's got to be some way to know.
I figure if you that sounds good, but and it's like, okay, when it says common sense gun control does not mean removing the right to have guns. And you're right, and that's what I said. That's the part I understand, a reasonable amount, but we're not talking reasonable. Like I said, these conversations are not talking or happening at extremes because 438 mass shootings. Sandy Hook. And a friend of mine, we were talking, I made a comment about, is this the right time? And he was basically so disillusioned, he said, hey, after Sandy Hook, we didn't have gun control legislation.
Exactly.
And it was children involved, little Caucasian children. So I had to stop, and I was like, Yeah, you're probably right.
It's not gonna happen.
If it didn't happen after that, I had to stop and say, yeah.
Well, yeah, but don't forget conspiracy is sitting there and claiming that Sandy Hook never happened. They're claiming that the government set Sandy Hook up to create gun regulation.
And those are people who shouldn't have guns, but they have mental issues. That's another thing I was getting to, right? We do better with making sure people with mental issues do not become legal owners of guns. Client says all rights come with responsibility, reasonable responsibilities and limitations attached to them. If we have a right that requires little responsibility, it will not be respected as much as a right that requires more responsibility. And that's a great point. And it's a great segue. Because we're not going to get gun control legislation anytime soon.
No.
We got 45 in office. He took $30 million from the gun lobbyists, and so that's not going to happen. But our segue, Clyde, thanks for giving us one. We talk about responsibilities and rights, and I wanted to talk about something we started talking about with the TYT, Young Turks reporters being arrested.
Oh, censorship.
Being arrested.
Censorship.
Or just a clear violation of the principle that, because I looked at the video.
No, that's straight out censorship.
I looked at the
I'm not playing on that.
And I don't think it was censorship as far as.
It was censorship of recording what was going on. They did not want those cameras rolling because of the fact they did not want the public to see what was going on.
I think it was ignorance. Because it was too easily to disprove, right? It was too easy.
Since when did they have to? The police go in there and do whatever the hell they want anyways.
You're right. Like I said, I watched the video and I agree with you that it was wrong. But it seems like to me that the police didn't understand the rights of the media. And like you said, coming with somebody that I have press credentials. And it just was, I found it scary that at that point in time, that it reminded me of the first steps towards fascism. And when you start to censor, like you say, censor the media, and then you start to arrest reporters for doing their job.
No, and that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not even playing this game, okay? The fact of the matter is, those police officers knew damn well what they were doing, okay? They knew damn well that they had media press. They knew they had the right to be there and to be filming this. And those police officers just did not give a damn. They went in there and violated the civil rights because they wanted to censor them. Well, there's not much else to this.
I see that, but I also looked at, there were only two reporters. There was one reporter and one cameraman arrested, and the cameraman was a person of color.
Yeah.
But I also found out there were more reporters there that were not arrested, doing other things. So my question was, why those two? And like I said, when I looked at the video and I saw the young man of color on the ground being arrested as a cameraman, and there were other people that wasn't arrested, that had more questions. So that's why I say censorship, if every one of them was arrested.
But all of them were on the ground.
I would say, but only two were arrested.
Only two were arrested, but all
but he down.
Yeah.
But they were still filming. But these two were only two arrested. And then in St. Louis, that one led me to another one that happened during the riots earlier, when another reporter was arrested. Also, and held in jail for 12 hours.
I did not know that.
Yes, and I meant to tell you that. Now I did when I was doing the research and I came across that, and I was like, is this a thing? And so there's more reporters that have been arrested this year than before. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, this is the steps of fascism, I'm saying. It's because we are arresting the reporters who are actually doing their job. And this can be traced back to 45 and his towards fake news. And he's saying this is fake news and empowering.
Well, here's the thing. When Hitler came into power, what was one of the first things he did? He took over the media. Right. He sat there and took control of the media, which is exactly where a neo-Nazi president is doing currently. He is sitting there, and I know people laugh and they're like, it's extreme. But here's the thing. When it comes to civil rights, it's not nothing to play with. You know, our civil rights are under attack. And I cannot, people have been jumping on me the last 3 days about this, but they do not realize abortion rights have been being taken away. The freedom of speech is now under attack. I mean, one by one, our civil rights are being taken away. And we need to stand up and speak out, even if we do not agree with what the person is saying. You cannot, the bottom line is you may not agree with what somebody is saying, but you need to agree with, they have that civil right to say what they're doing, or be a free press member and recording what they're doing. Because once we lose that civil right, we lose that civil right. You know, it's not going to affect one or the other. It is affecting everybody.
And I think, yes, I'm watching systematically that all rights are being infringed upon that in a way, in a manner that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. But what do we do about it is the question I have to ask. We are sitting here and I'm watching 45 systematically, like you say, eliminate, take rights away from us. But we're just not doing what it takes to secure those rights back because we seem like we've gotten passive and we're upset. But like this is what I say. I looked at the reporters being arrested. That would have been a prime time for me to see Time, Warner Brothers, all these large major news outlets. They should have sent their reporters there. That should have been covered. That should have been front page news. That should have been a headline. That should be, these large news companies should have been there with bail, with stories and everything to draw attention to that. It's like this country, we're getting to the point where we're getting to the point where we are so overstimulated with the tragedies that 45 is producing that we're not, our outrage seems to be diminishing in direct proportion. I'm gonna tell you, let's talk about Puerto Rico when I talk about diminished.
Don't even
outrage. I mean, your president,
not my damn president.
Not mine either.
I did not vote in that terrorist.
Went to Puerto Rico, and I'm kind of wishing, now I'm like, you know what, if I would have known this was going to happen, I would have been like, hey, why don't you just do me a favor?
They went to Vegas.
You don't think to Vegas after. Oh my goodness. And I would be like, yo, just don't go, I'm good, but you're not going. But he got to Puerto Rico, right? And he makes the statement, right? And this is what gets me, right? He makes the statement, he's giving a speech, and he says, Puerto Rico, you should be lucky y'all didn't have a real disaster or catastrophe like Katrina. You know, how many are dead? 16? And I'm like, I'm watching this exchange on live television, right?
Oh my
and I'm
God,
like,
this is embarrassment.
But here's the thing.
did he just really say a real catastrophe?
Oh my
When you
God.
have 90, and still at the time he said this, 95% of the island was without power.
Oh.
You
Wait,
know,
that wasn't even the whole thing. Don't forget. They're not Americans. They're your people. And then we have our people.
oh yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
I mean,
He said,
Yeah.
he sits there and says, how many deaths did your people have?
Yeah.
And our people.
Yeah.
You know, so Puerto Rico to him is
45 civilians. Yeah. Oh, speaking of idiots, I should say like Rex Tillerson said, he's a moron.
moron.
But yeah, they had to call a emergency press conference today to talk about that, right? But yeah, he's a moron.
Yeah, because it's so important, you know. Nothing else is going on in the world.
I was actually expecting Rex to resign today. He gonna say it. I was like, what musical chair number is this? But you know, we look at the fact that this is the president of the free world, and this is what he's saying. And he jokingly refers to Puerto Rico is sending our budget out of whack because of, you know, oh, but we're spending a lot of money and saving a lot of lives. And at the end of the day, you know, it was 16 and already the death toll is now at 36 already in association with athletic one day. And he was talking about you're lucky a lot more people than die. And like, excuse me, it's the aftermath that is going to kill people in Puerto Rico.
I was just going to say.
Without power, without medical assistance, without water, portable water, and these things, and they're saying, well, you know, I had this outrageous story about 20% of the people showed up to work in Puerto Rico to help with the relief effort, and we have to do it all ourselves. And I'm like, excuse me, we're looking at a place. Look at her. Doesn't she look like her dome? Come here. Come on. Say hello.
Come on.
say hi to them.
Say hi. Come on.
She's so shy now.
Yeah, she's shy now. She snuck in and now she gets shy.
Here's my question. I have a very simple question. Could we have got any worse of a person than president?
I'm scared to answer that question. I don't know, because I'm just dealing with the things he's doing
Now, right?
now. I can't even go back and say, oh, play the what if. I can't even play the what if Hillary was president game. I can't even play that, because all I can conceive on a regular basis is that what in the heck is he gonna do today? What is the next tweet? I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
And I get up at 6. I'm going to bed, and I'm going to bed like, just please let him be asleep so he doesn't tweet something. Just let him be asleep. But to my chart, I wake up, and sure enough, he's tweeting something. He goes after the mayor of San Juan.
Yeah.
You know, talks about her poor leadership style in a hurricane. I'm like, let's see, winds in excess of 160 miles per hour. What leadership are you talking about? You have a devastated island. We're talking about people not reporting to work when you have no towers, can't call people, and then the infrastructure is not in place. You talk about the government's response to it, and what I'm saying is that logistically, you should know this is an island nation that took a direct hit from a Category 5 storm. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about what the people on the island are not doing. If you're still alive after that, you were doing a lot.
I have there. Right. How about we see how great Trump's leadership skills are, and we put him on an island in front of a hurricane?
I think it's something called the Constitution, and he's the president, so we can't do that legally.
I mean, because he's talking about people's leadership skills.
Yeah,
so let's see how great a leader he is.
We already know. I mean, I don't have to see this. I mean, I know this because I get tweets from him at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, you know, that I'm convinced me you have stock in Twitter. And but we don't know. I can't see an IRS statement or his company. So I don't know, it might have stock in Twitter. But these are the things we get, and we don't have to see if he has any leadership style, because a leader would not have picked a fight with a mayor in San Juan after a major disaster. Right. A leader wouldn't have went down there and said, oh, you're lucky that you didn't have a real catastrophe. And our new co-host, she's taking Petra's spot, is Melinda's daughter, and there's a son also. Say hi. And they have joined us. What is it? They tried to paint the lack of drivers on the Teamster Union. Interesting how there is a union issue on the Supreme Court docket this week. That's true. But also, this is one of the things I go to, the response and taking 2 weeks to even visit Puerto Rico. He might have something to do with the failed golf course there. And he takes it personally, right? But, you know, these are the things that everything's personal. Everything's about him. You have people on the island. you have people on an island that are without food, water, medical attention, and it's on the dock, and you're talking about the workers can't get, and the workers not doing their job.
Let's talk about that expensive outfit that they were wearing. You know, they come in there, you know, people are starving and dehydrated, and here comes a Trump with his $3,000 suit on, plus his wife with her $6,000 shoes. At least she wasn't wearing heels today. I give her that. You know, but you know, let's talk about this, because the reason I want to bring this up is because if it would have been President Obama,
if it would have been my tie, right?
If it would have been
talking about the price of clothing, right?
No,
I'm going to recuse myself from this.
No, I want to talk about the double standard here, okay? If it would have been President Obama, they would have been all over him about the clothes that he was wearing. So let's talk about the clothes that Trump was wearing today. You know, the $30,000 shoes that he wears to a place that people are starving and dehydrating. Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, is that a representative of the United States?
Yes.
Capitalism at its best.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I personally, and y'all can want to about me. Personally, I don't really care what he had on, as long as he was dressed.
I normally don't.
He made good decisions, and I understand he's talking about the double standard. But if he made good decisions, I wouldn't care if he dressed like
I brought that up.
My favorite person.
You know why I brought that up was because I was reading a comment earlier talking about how compassionate Trump is, and how he is so loving, and how he cares, how he really cares about humanity. You know, I was reading some of these posts, and I want to know what 45 they're talking about, right? Because this is a 45 that I don't know. I mean, do we have a split personality president?
Split? You require like 2?
I mean, because I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find the one that they're talking about.
They're talking about the one they want to They're talking about the delusion they have. Like a friend of mine, when we were talking about mental issues, and the president and I said,
oh, well, I mean, yeah.
But the thing about it is that my problem, one of the problems I have, of course, is 45. But the bigger issue is the number of people that voted for him and support him. We saying that if you say he's mental issues, then you're saying that we have to believe that somebody voted in somebody with mental issues.
Or I do
that, make them. Or if you say he's a white racist, then we have to supremacist. We have to realize that his support is on white supremacists also.
I agree.
So we have a bigger issue here than just 45.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big issue, and we're going to be working on things that he's done for years to come. But we have the issue to deal with also that we are dealing with a nation that even if it's not the majority, even if it's only has a 36% approval rate, we're still talking about tens of millions of people.
How are you getting out there going 36 approval rating, 36?
No, that's because you add everybody to him, but I think in his party, he still has his base, he still has like a 90% approval.
Oh, my
goodness. In his base.
Oh, not Republican. My bad.
Yeah.
He's not Republican.
He only has a 63% Republican.
So now we have that triple and quadruple approval ratings, like to see where he's staying.
Yeah, because and it's just amazing that any person can really try to justify some of his behavior. Like I say, I'm terrorized at what he said in Vegas today. And then he's in Puerto Rico.
What did he say in Vegas?
And really, I'm not finished with Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay, wow.
He goes out to Puerto Rico and he's throwing out paper towels to people.
Yeah.
He's throwing out paper towels like he's at a Mardi Gras parade.
Yeah.
And somebody made a spill and they need some bounty on aisle 6. He's throwing paper towels
Yeah,
out.
right.
So
Yeah, like,
do people need water perhaps? A bottle of water perhaps?
hold on. Yeah, folks,
She's throwing paper towels. He really did something also. Like he's really doing something. That's the thing that gets me. And he's like, oh, I beseech you with some paper towels.
But wait, they're not Americans. They're not his people.
Well, I'm still not convinced that he understood that Puerto Rico was a U.S. territory. So, lost me there. And then I go, they talk about George Bush's response and Katrina, right? Ooh, I never thought I would say this. And I actually tweeted it. I actually,
You actually put it down on as fact.
I put it down on Facebook that I actually miss George Bush.
Oh my God. Oh, actually, I admit, y'all.
I actually called his name. I was actually like, what was I thinking when I said he couldn't get any worse? Oh my goodness.
I actually said I miss Ronald Reagan.
As a historian, as someone who studied history, there's a lot of things that Reagan did that came to fruition during the Clinton era. So, it's still, even though Ronald was an actor and Donald Trump's a reality star, it's a difference. It's still a difference in style, class, and substance. And 45 has none of those. No class, no style, no substance. And so, and at least Ronald Reagan had dancing. But, and I'm not even, and that was not a dig at the First Lady. That was not a dig at Melinda. Yeah, I even use her name when I refer to her. She's just as caught up as the rest of us. But, and I look at these issues before us that, are just abhorrent in the fact that she had to go pick up a Coke bottle because she blew it out of the room.
Yeah,
got caught up in the moment too.
And,
you look at these issues and you say, how are we still at this point?
How we're at this point is because.
Are you a Trump supporter?
It's because people are tired of hearing about it. People, as I've been reading all day long, are saying, well, turn off the computer. It won't bother you. These issues will magically disappear if you don't deal with them. And I'm wondering, because I don't have this luxury. As a trans person, do you have the luxury of changing your skin color as you go out?
I did it when we were testing the camera. I got lighter and darker.
Okay.
That's why I'm sitting on this side, because I was like, I was sitting there, but I was like, hey, I'm too dark. And you couldn't see this feature.
Do you have the luxury of changing your issues everyday life? So when I read this bullshit, excuse my language, of these people that type out, just turn off your computer and the problems go away. I don't know what world you're living in. I think you are in the actor world, you know, where you're pretending.
They're in the part of the world that.
So much trouble with the religious right. The pretending in the afterworld.
I mean, I see this. I'm sorry. I see it all day, every day for like the last forever now. It's like people are like, I'm tired of politics. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. Well, you know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of being stared at as I walk into a restaurant as a trans person. I'm tired of the discrimination. I'm tired of the crap, of the judgment from the people that act like nothing's going on. You know, you don't have that luxury to pretend. You know, I don't have that luxury.
Nobody has a luxury to pretend. I think that they are part of the problem that we have because they just ignore things or refuse not to deal with things, or are part of the people that just allow things to happen and keep silent when they do things happening instead of speaking out. And they're part of the problem.
Right. I mean, silence to me is like you say, silence is consent.
Yes.
In a way. Like Dr. King said, we will not remember you for things you said sometime, but they will remember you for the silence that you dealt with horrible things that happened. And that's where we're at. We're at that point, like you say, how when you turn off the computer and it's go away. If you turn off the computer, you're still not going to have health care.
Thank you.
You turn off the computer, it doesn't mean just because you didn't see the man getting his head beat in for a traffic stop, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
And until we start to that point where we care, and not only, and it's not enough to care. I'm going out there. It's not enough just to care about something. We have to actively engage in doing things. It's not enough to say, oh, I feel for you and your rights have been violated and I wish they would. We have to actively get involved and say, okay, your rights are violated. And like Angela Davis said, if they come for you in the morning, they will come for me at night. And if we don't start standing up and making stances together, we will all be digging graves alone.
Yes.
That's where we are now. And, you know, I laugh and I joke about the situation sometimes to keep from crying. Because when I look at the damage that one man is causing our country on a regular basis, and he has supporters, I'm like, you know, it is extreme thoughts go to my head.
Yeah.
You know, they are. I don't want to share them, but the extreme thoughts are there because I'm like, this is damage that my nephews and nieces' children will be dealing with after I'm gone. This is the damage. When they look back on history and they see this and they ask themselves, where was their uncle and where did he stand? I want them to see I stood up for them. You know, some people are okay with saying, oh, let the children deal with it. I'm not. I looked at, you know, Pastor Stan when the three young men decided to take a knee. And, you know, you read these comments on WLOX and they're talking about, you know, these are children of color. And you have these Caucasian males talking about if they were my children, what I would do, and we would like to teach them a lesson. And I'm like, that sounds so familiar. I think I heard that teach them a child of color lesson in Emmett Till's case.
Right.
So if that's what the lesson, these are not your children. You know, and then as someone who serves in the military, and I listen to these people, and I made a post on patriotism, what it was and what it isn't. And I listen to these people who are sitting at home on their couch on NFL Sunday, with their hands down their pants and a beer in the other hand when the national anthem is playing, and all of a sudden they've been out of shape because somebody else is on the or kneeling or not on the field or whatever their reason, they're gonna scream, you're disrespecting the flag. Yeah, you've been disrespecting the Constitution since its inception, but oh, we're okay with that.
Right.
You know, and I don't. Yeah. It's that double-edged sword, and that's another thing. My narrative, I will not allow 45 to change this narrative. I will not allow the owners of the NFL to change the narrative because they're linked arms and standing up. I will not allow that because the narrative has never been about that. The narrative is the fact that we have a disproportionate number of people of color being arrested by police. We have a disproportionate number of people of color, males especially, being killed by the police. And those are the issues that we need to address. We need to address the inequality that has been continuing in this country. And this is the platform that we get to say it. Stop telling me about how your feelings are hurt because we're protesting during the national anthem, when the national anthem was even written, my people were slaves.
Right.
And if you don't believe that, go to the third verse of the national anthem. And and people ask, well, yeah, you know what? There were times I didn't know that I wasn't going to be eating baby food. I was still eating it. But as I got older, I learned more things and I changed and evolved with them. Once you know something is wrong, you don't address it, you can't blame that anymore on not knowing.
Yes.
So there was a time, when I was younger, I didn't know what was said. Or there was a time when my mental development, my emotional development, I didn't understand this. But now I understand. So this is where I make my stand. Because I'm not a child anymore, that I'm responsible for my own actions going forward. It's just like white privilege. And I tell people, my problem with white privilege isn't that you have it. It's not that you have it. It's what you do with it. Mm-hmm. If you're going to continue to wallow in its ignorance, then you're part of the problem. Right. But if you say, you know what, it is up to me to help you with this liberation, to help you gain equality, to help you to enhance all our qualities of life, then you're reasonable. And we can go forward with that. Because Lena Horne, just a quick history lesson, Lena Horne was a fair-skinned African American, very fair. She could pass for white. But she was at the forefront of the civil rights movement during her time. When they would be outside, the darkest skinned of us would be outside picketing or walking up and down in front of the places that we would refuse service at. Lunchtime, she'd walk right in, right past them, like she didn't know them, they didn't know her. And she'd walk in and order food and bring it back out. That was a case of her using her privilege to facilitate the movement. Right. And to also point out the fallacies in your thinking. Because your thinking is, you're just looking at me. You're not judging me based on the content of my heart. But when we deal with, and there's a difference between prejudice and discrimination and racism, but when you deal with those factors that are so intertwined as people want to believe they are, it's what you do with what you have that defines your character, not the other way around. So, and that's my Lena Horne lesson for today.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Because we've had this conversation. I want you to, your mind, define what racism is, define what prejudice is, and so that.
And we have to come up with a new working definition for what racism is in this country, because racism evolves. Racism now is about the systematic discrimination of people of color in this country that is enforced not only by individuals, but by policies also. They're enforced by individuals in positions of power that will keep you oppressed because of the color of your skin, even if it's a gender specific, if it's a sexual specific, all that. But racism in this country, when I use and I define, is the continual suppression of our people by the use of policy. And in support of those policies, you are racist. In the carrying out of those policies, you are racist. In the indoctrination which you believe that you are superior to someone and therefore someone else deserves to be inferior to you, you're racist. Racism in this country includes one of the major things in a capitalist society. Racism will also be the point when you make policies that do nothing to narrow the gender gap between wealth. When you do nothing to say, hey, you know what? The median household income difference between people of color and Caucasians in this country is almost 15%. 15%. 15 times median income wealth-wise. So when you're not doing things to address those policies, you're supporting the policy of racism. When I read on WLOX, I'm on these sites, and people will say, when we talk about police brutality, and they'll say something like, well, what are you doing about black on black crime? And I was like, what are you doing about white on white crime? Because, you all kill yourselves more than we kill you all. So when you address that issue in your community, and we'll take care of this issue in our community, but the issue we're talking about that overlaps our community is the fact that people of color are being abused and mistreated by the police force in a disproportionate amount. When people don't want to talk about racism or the narrative, they switch it and make it about them and about what you're not doing. And those are issues, don't get me wrong. But I asked this one guy that said that's Caucasian, I asked him, when was the last time you were at a funeral of a person of color and his mother is reaching out to the mother of the young man who killed her son and saying we must do something to stop this. So don't tell me, ask us what we're doing about it in our community. You just address the issue and help us address the issue about why your police are disproportionately harassing us or mistreating us or killing us. When you look at the fact that black men are even a lower percentage of people of color in general, but we play a huge role in the number of arrests and the number of unarmed people that are killed at the hands of police. You know, and that's a segue into our next topic is the difference between the opioid epidemic of today and the war on drugs on crack cocaine and that happened in the 80s and the 90s. You know, we had Janet Reno, who was Attorney General at the time of Bill Clinton, make a statement and say that the laws governing punishment and imprisonment of crack cocaine versus cocaine were racist. Because, you know, people were receiving 4 or 5 times more time for the same amount of crack that they had that other people received for cocaine. Yeah. And that has come to fruition right now, watching that now we have an opioid epidemic in this country. I would say it's an epidemic. When did it become an epidemic? So we have task force. As a matter of fact, our esteemed government has enacted an opiate task force where people are compassionately trying to find a way to end these problems.
Compassionately?
Hold on. and help the opioid addiction abusers with their problems. I remember task force from the 80s and 90s when crack was a big deal in the predominantly African American community. They had task force too. Did you know that? Yeah, they had task force. They wore uniforms, they had guns, and they kicked in doors. That's
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The task force of today, they want to talk about the problem, but this is a stat that I thought was interesting, is that the majority of opiate users are Caucasian. Mm-hmm. I mean, disproportionately Caucasian. You all are doing drugs at 90% rate as far as opioid addiction. And that is astounding to me if it wasn't for the fact that the law deals with it differently. Now, let me go right and say this. I'm not criticizing the outreach and the humanitarian nature of reaching out to addicts. But the cocaine, the crack penalties are still the same. Mm-hmm. You know, and we had this conversation, we were talking online today, and we were talking about, I posted it, that it's still racism. When people was like, it's still racist, because most of the users and abusers of crack are in the African American and people of color community. Yeah. But most of the users of opioids are Caucasian. As a matter of fact, Caucasian women make a prescription drug use is the leading users of opioids. So now it's an epidemic because it affects the Caucasians in this country disproportionate to it affects African Americans. I can tell by your silence that yes.
You don't want my opinion on drug users. I have a big.
But it's not drug users that's my problem.
Well,
it's the way that the government has decided to address drug use.
Well, as far as the crack cocaine versus powder, that has been a racist issue from the beginning of time. From the beginning of it, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day about how crack cocaine was implemented into the African American community. You know, by the white man. You know, I was just talking about this conversation yesterday. And I have a history with certain drugs and not usage. So I know this problem personally. You know, I have a cousin that's hooked on heroin. I have people locally in the LGBT community hooked on heroin. Drug use is something I take a very hard stance on. Because I'm very black and white on this issue. Because the reason is I feel like if you are 18 years of age and you start using heroin afterwards, you deserve anything that happens to you. I am very cold-hearted on it. I do not back bounce on it. Wow. Because of the fact that we are educated enough as a society that I know right now, if I go to a bar and I start using heroin, I know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
The addiction's going to happen. You're going to end up getting addicted. You're going to end up having chemical dependency, and it's going to the issue keeps climbing on. So as far as I'm a very bad person, it has been throughout my family. I have personal experience with it, and I have a very biased view on it. You know, as a child, I know I was just told yesterday of a local middle school where there's drugs being sold on campus. I'm not going to go into details on it. But ultimately, you know, those children right there do not know what's going on. They do not have the knowledge. What was that drug program we used to use? There, you know, the load of crap, okay? Basically, it taught you how to use drugs and it taught you what drugs are good, okay? Is ultimately what happened. Complete failure across the board.
Yeah, it's still a dare class. I see dare cars driving around.
Well, yeah, it's like
I don't see the dog though. I don't see the hound. I see the car.
Yeah, they're educated. They're educated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the thing is, I mean, if you are educated on an issue, just as we said with racism, okay? If you are educated on an issue and you do not better yourself with that issue, you are responsible for that issue. You know, if I'm educated with race issues, okay, I go out there and I become a KKK member. That's on me. I'm educated enough to know the difference. Drug use. So if I go out there and I start using drugs tonight, is that not on me? That I went and I chose to get high?
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm not making excuses for, like I say, my feeling on the laws that govern it are still the same.
Yeah.
There's still racial disparity in them.
I agree.
But my thing is this, and with opiate addiction, if you are on an opiate, and you're taking it, and you become addicted to it, because the doctor prescribed it to you in the wrong amount. And I know these are, but I'm just trying to see how far do you go without some feeling of compassion for the people that are abusers of drugs. Because there are issues that arise that it's not that. I see you say it's black and white, and I believe.
I've been on opiates. I've been on Lortab. I've been on Oxycontin after surgery. And even at that point, and I know this is just me viewing myself as a person that's been on painkillers, that I realize the risk of getting addicted. And trust me, when I was on Lortab, when I tore my ligament in my shoulder, I loved the Lortab. I'm gonna be honest. I love the feeling of the Lortab. I love the feeling of getting high on it. You know, I mean, I actually overtook it. You know, one time I didn't realize I took too many. I ended up going to work on it. You know, so I mean, because I forgot.
The bottom says take one every single one.
I need another Lortab.
I missed my last dose.
I missed my last dose, and I missed a couple of doses before I had a bottle. I take them too.
No, it ain't like that. No, like if you take one, and especially, you know, as active as I am with my hyperactivity, you know, I don't remember if I take my estrogen. You know, there's times I forget to take my estrogen. So I know that. I mean,
TNathan, what was that?
I'm like, oh, didn't see that one coming, did you?
You know, but here's the thing. It's a serious issue. And the reason
She just said she got to take it. Then like I was gonna laugh.
I'm just, you know, I'm open, y'all. I don't give a shit. But on a serious matter is, you know, when I took it, I mean, beyond that belt, I understood why I want to stay like that.
Okay, well, if you do, then there's some people that don't have the willpower you do. I mean, this is normal. I mean, if it was, let me break it down. And this is no, it's going to sound like I'm defending opiate use, but I'm not. But I'm also, like I say, my issue is with the law governing.
Yeah,
I actually believe in.
I agree with you.
I believe that, you know, there are people with addictive personalities there, and we can say all we want to. And my thing is not to. I can't deal with why you're on it. I like to deal with why you're on it now. Not how you got here, but how do we get you off here? Then we'll deal with you when you're clean. But my thing is that
if they want to get clean.
You know, like I said, once you get clean, if you make the decision to go back, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But there are people without the wherewithal to have willpower. Because the way you're classifying and when you make it seem is like, well, because you can do it, everybody can do it. Well, I would point out several fallacies in that course. Because if we apply that principle to everybody, then there are a lot of situations we wouldn't be in, and maybe there's some worse situations we would be in. But we can't, and I was telling you this about before, sometimes we can't make it about what we would do. We have to make it about the compassion we feel for people that are in certain situations. Like I said, there are people I've seen that I'm not surprised they got addicted to opioids because their pain level was so high about things that have happened to them. It's life. And then it gets to that point where knowing that the chemicals in the brain, and as a psychologist, knowing how they react to certain your receptors act, then it becomes.
But with that, that's a medical necessary issue. You know, when somebody has pain level to the point that they can't stand to live, somebody that has pain levels so bad that I couldn't imagine, you know, and I've had things, I mean, I'm sure we've all had pain levels so bad. Could you imagine, take that pain, you know, and multiply 10 times nerve pain? I mean, I can understand the opiate use in that situation. You see what I'm saying? That to me is not the same. And I guess that's different.
They don't give women labor opiates, so it's not yeah, that's the worst pain you can ever imagine. Life is giving birth.
Well, I've had women. I've had talked to women that say giving birth was
don't want to hear the
I swear.
No painkillers for your children.
Oh, did you forget something after the first one?
We're not talking about pregnancy, you know.
Yeah, I don't blame you, because it'll take me 11 years to forget the pain. I will tell you something. I was in the room doing a birth one time. One time. And I was like, oh, the joy of birth. And I was like, I was stupid. I was just in college, right? And I was like, would you go in and hold my hand? I was like, sure, beautiful. Birth is a beautiful process. And I'm like, yeah, I passed out just after the first push. I was like, the next thing I remember, the nurse was like passing sniffing salt on my nose and laughing at me. I was like, I don't know what the camera is. I don't mind to sit down somewhere. Birth may be a beautiful experience, but it does not look good. And I'm sure the pain associated with it is more than I as a man want to know about.
Yeah.
But I want to say something Wendell said. Wendell says, the second side of the addiction problem, not often considered, is money. When a person who has the pills has no food but has the ability to turn half of their pills into cash, it becomes a need being met. And that is true. And that's what makes it so. But that's the same way with you look at crack in the communities, right? A lot of these people were selling crack, true enough, and a lot of selling communities, but they were doing things for their family. They were doing things for their. I mean, I'm not saying that either one. My problem is either treat them both the same as criminalize them and criminalize them, or treat them both the same as they're epidemics that need to be addressed.
No, I agree with that.
You know, we're treating opioids as an epidemic, as a healthcare issue, and cocaine is a derivative of cocaine. Yeah.
Well, I think crack and cocaine.
Yeah.
I think they need to go hand in hand. I think the opiate needs to go hand in hand.
Right, and it's all of addiction.
Yeah, I mean,
substance.
heroin. I don't. To be honest, I mean, I'm just take all the drugs across the board and make them the same penalty, and there you go.
Or make them.
Well, marijuana is not a drug.
Yes, it is.
No,
so is alcohol. So is alcohol.
And marijuana actually, it comes.
So does arsenic. You don't see me want to go smoke it, but
that's your personal choice.
It is personal choice, but I'll admit it has side effects that impair your judgment. So that's my problem. If it has a side effect that impairs my judgment and it's legal, then we should do it in situations where your impaired judgment does not endanger my life. So that's what I'm saying. Unless it's y'all know where I stand. I don't care if they legalize marijuana. But as well, alcohol is legal, and there have been more accidents that have endangered human lives from the use of alcohol than I've had marijuana. But you know, I don't mind that. But I'm just saying, laws need to reflect equally the users of these drugs.
Yes.
If you're going to say that opioid epidemic requires a humane task force to help so is crack cocaine, so is heroin. These things require those same measures. If you're gonna say we're gonna lock them up and penalize them and throw them away to keep, then okay. I want y'all to go out and round up all the white people on the opioids that are addicted and doing things to supply their addiction at the same thing that people.
Well, it goes even further than that. Let's go even further than
Wait till we
that.
get the meth.
Well, let's go even further than that, okay? Because let's go to this systematic racism within here, okay? Because we know that white people make 15% more.
15 times the wealth gap between white people and people of color is 15 times.
Okay, so 15 times. So
Yeah.
here you have a white woman going to court. Here you have a person of color going to court for crack, one for opiate. You know, who's going to be able to afford the better attorney in legal representation?
But I think if you get to the point where you make the punishment across the board, then it wouldn't matter about legal representation.
Right.
But it does.
But it does. I'm saying it does, but I'm saying it's a question of how we as a society. Look at the way we look at the war on drugs in the black community, with crack and cocaine. It's like a us against them mentality.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, drug dealers in the bad and they're doing this and that, and then you're doing the same thing to the user. But in the opioid epidemic, it's like we want understanding and compassion for opioid addiction.
It's a disease.
It's a disease, and we need people to be compassionate. And since most of the drug dealers in that case are pharmaceutical companies, no one's kicking in their doors
Right.
Yeah.
and going after them.
They're arresting
Or
the few doctors here now.
physicians.
Yeah, they write the script. And it's a civilized arrest still. No one, I have not seen a major opioid bust that involved a kicked-in door and you know, guns blazing, and yeah, I haven't seen that. And you know, if you have one out there, please send it to me. I would like to see that video. But yeah, whole task force that doesn't involve. When the governor was like announcing he's going to form a task force, I was expecting to see paratroopers come out there with flamethrowers, and I see these people with bicycles and suits, and I'm like, DEA agents, and no, they're medical healthcare physicians. And I'm like, wow, this is an interesting task force. But see, that's what.
Well, they're the one that started it. All he did was cycle the circle of life and brought in the people that started it. I mean, so the people that started it are the ones that are going to finish it.
Anyone who has the, you know, one wants to let everybody know, anyone who has the pain issue need for pills should also be taught to manage both pills and their use.
Yes.
And that is true. But we still deal with, you know, why do people do things that they shouldn't do in general?
What do you do that they shouldn't do?
It depends on what it is that they shouldn't do. Because if we can answer those questions, wow, we can really solve a lot of problems. Our co-host is back. Oh, she's got to go again.
Dada, you have something to say?
You stay.
So
you don't gotta go.
That's my issue. That's my issue on the drugs.
I agree with you on drugs.
And you know, we just have to be across the board, like I say. Also, we want to recognize that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So remember that. If you have a favorite charity that is addressing breast cancer issues, please take the time to give a donation if you can, or volunteer if you have to. Every little bit goes into helping, and we want to stand in solidarity with our female friends and family. So this is an issue that affects 1 in 8 women. And so we want to make sure they understand that we stand in solidarity with them. And this is one of those issues that someone got on me on posting things on my page that, you know, it didn't affect me. And this does affect me because I have female friends. It's like racism affects me even if I'm in a different place than some people that.
Wait.
Yeah.
They got on you for posting a breast cancer awareness on your feed.
They get on me because a lot of people talking about that these things or issues are not issues.
I was just going to say, exactly who owns that issue?
No, I always think it like this. It's my page. I post what I want to.
Thank you.
So it's like this is my mouth. I say I don't do what I want to. Especially when addressing issues.
What you can.
The same
issue is yours and not.
The censorship police.
Oh, no. Listen to this. That is on a smaller scale, you heard that. But on a larger scale, that is the same people that's telling us not to kneel doing the flag. I agree with you, you have an issue, but this is not the way to protest it. That's what people were telling, because they were rich athletes and, oh, you can protest this way. You don't get the right to tell me how to protest any more than you get the right to tell me how to speak out against things on my page.
Right.
And that is what, the bigger picture, I'm glad y'all noticed that, because that's what people are telling people of color now.
Yeah.
They're telling you, don't protest like this, don't protest like this, or we can't discuss gun control after a mass shooting. We can't discuss climate change after 3-4 hurricanes in 14 days. We can't talk about these things because now is not the time.
I don't see the permission form for you to talk about these.
Oh yeah, I burned it.
You burned it?
Yeah, that was one of those forms that you give you when you come to school. You don't want your parents to see, so you don't.
Okay, I just wanted to see because I just didn't know if we had permission forms.
Yeah, I got permission from the only person I need, and and that's what it is. So we have to realize that injustice. If you see injustice and do nothing about it, you are part of the injustice.
Yes.
And if you see injustice and you speak out about it, it doesn't matter where you are in life or how far you are removed from that injustice. It is still your responsibility to speak out about it. And we have to take that into account because we're missing civics class, and social studies classes that were mandatory when I was coming up. So we don't have people that even know their rights.
Actually, I want to go to Windows County here.
Yeah.
Because this is a topic that I have seen for a while now.
You're talking the last one?
Yeah.
There will always be abuse, but each person removed through education is one less going forward. And I agree there's a wide disparity in how drugs and people are treated in the justice system. Look at how bonds are set. Why are justice court judges free to set large bonds for a person of color and a minimum bond for a white offender? Yeah, we know why.
Yeah,
it's called racism.
Well, I don't think people understand what a bond is for. I don't think people understand it's to. And I was actually listening to a radio talk show out of New York on this because they're attacking this issue up in New York because what they're doing with people of color is they're saying bonds that are 100 times what they should be. For if you were to get a parking ticket, they'll say they give you a $5,000 bond, or something stupid. This is an issue that has been on forever because the bond is supposed to be your security that you're going to show up. It's supposed to be your security that justice will be served. But what's happening is, and there's been a lot of lawsuits on this particular subject, which is why I want to talk about it, is because a lot of judges are setting bonds so high as a punishment to keep the people in jail or prison so that they can't bond out. They are violating their civil rights by setting the bond so high.
So that people are staying in jail because they're poor.
Yes. And this is a nationwide issue that there is a movement on currently happening. And when I read it, I wanted to, exactly, because this is a very important issue that we don't really discuss a lot, and I spent like an hour and a half watching the show, we're listening to the show, not watching. And there was an attorney on there, they actually, in New York, these attorneys will come in there, they have a fund, okay, that they set aside, and they will sit there, and if somebody comes through the courthouse, they're going for bond, and the district attorney's office knows, and the other people know, they will come back and actually get them and say, this person needs to be bonded out, that the judge is basically blah, blah, and they actually bond those people out. And they've actually, the fund, and I actually need more research on it, but the fund actually, as long as people show up, the money comes back, right? And they have had like 98%, 99% showing up for court with these people that don't even have any money involved. They could just disappear, to be honest, and have no issues. But they're having a 99% appearance rate in court.
I would like to say, when we deal with the bond issue too, it's obviously racist. It always is to the point for me where I look at these issues and I hear it. I'm not surprised, but this is not something new to me. And then, like we're going to say it about poor people. We're giving people time in jail, even not knowing if you're the presumption of innocence is not even being taken into account. percent absorbing bonds. I mean, if you watch Law and Order in the last 20 years, you see when you do arguments about bonds. So these bonds are specifically targeted at this level to impact negatively the people of color, because they, like you say, they can't, those are not the ones that can afford. So they keep them in jail. That means one way of trying to get you off the street. And then you're in jail, so then it's a cascade effect. What happens to a father that is put in jail, loses his job, so he's providing for his family, but he can't provide for his family now. So they financially suffer. Yeah. So in the long term, you get this cycle that you are talking about is created on multiple fronts about what happens in the criminal justice system. Because we get into this level and people don't want to realize it or not. But every one of us knows somebody who has either been in prison or at least in jail for some time. There is somebody. And in Mississippi, when we deal with the fact that there's a move afoot to get people their voting rights back. Because the crimes that are ones that keep you out the voting rolls are disproportionately the ones that people of color commit, as opposed to crimes that Caucasians commit. So it's easier for a person, a non-person of color, to get their rights reinstated after they get out of prison than it is for a person of color that served even less time to get theirs reinstated. And when you control the populace like that, you have to control government, and that's what you do. But it's also getting late.
Oh, we still done. We still have DACA to talk about.
We're gonna have to push it to next week because some of us have other commitments, and I love you all. But we are going to talk about DACA.
No, we can't. We need to take 5 minutes to talk about DACA real quick because there is a vote coming up that we need to get out. We need 5 minutes. We have DACA
4 minutes and 39 seconds.
Our closing arguments are going to be about DACA.
Let's go. Closing arguments.
So anyways, there's this new Dreamers Act coming on, and they're doing a bipartisan thing, working together. Who would have thought Congress worked together? Mm-hmm. And they're changing the format. So basically what they are saying is if you've entered the United States before the age of 18, you have been continuously physically present in the U.S. since the last 4 years before the date of the Dreamers Act enactment, that maintain continuously presence in the U.S. until the date they apply, meet the education requirement through one of these ways, been admitted into college, university, blah, 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 have not been convicted of certain criminal offenses, pass a medical exam, pass a background check, and they will become a resident.
Okay, let me ask something. Because I just heard you say something.
DACA beneficiaries will be granted permanent resident status.
Yes.
So that's a pathway. That getting granted permanent resident status is a pathway to citizenship.
Yes.
So this is actually good.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. If you've been continuously in the United States since the age of what age now?
18.
18.
Before 18.
Before 18.
Before 18.
Why are you required to take a medical exam?
Because that's what they're requesting. Which is why I want to talk about this, because this is actually coming up for vote with.
Because they've been vaccinated.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, who threw that in there? It's like, hey, they've been here all this time, had vaccinated, but let's ask for a medical exam. So what are the criteria? I mean, I guess this is what we're going to study on. I want to know about this. So are you telling me that if they have a medical condition, that they're going to be kicked out of the country because they have a pre-existing medical condition? That they did what they did?
Yes.
If like, say, they have polio, they didn't bring it from Mexico with them, or they had it already. So that disturbs me when I hear that. That disturbs me, right?
Yeah. When
I hear that you have to take a medical exam after you've been here all that time to stay in the country. I haven't been anywhere, so anything I have, I got it here. So
yeah, we all need to keep an eye on this. I wanted to announce it real quick because this is actually going through Congress right now.
Yes, we should be voting on everything.
Yes, and we're not going to have time to talk about it much. It's Thursday to vote on this.
Thursday to vote on it.
Yeah. They're voting on it tomorrow.
And
Right.
apparently Congressman Palazzo is on board.
Oh, and he's gonna hate this, right? But if you want to see Congressman Palazzo, show up at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College
On
on
Saturday.
Saturday at
Yes.
9
9 to
o'clock.
11.
9 to 11. You will be there with his academic program, right? I'll just show up and tell you, Congressman.
Town Hall, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, Saturday. Steve Plaza will be there.
Town hall.
Yeah.
Hey, here first.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
yeah. It's an impromptu, but just drop by and tell him how you really feel, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't get him anywhere
We're
else.
gonna take the audience and hold
So,
your time.
but you will be, you
Yeah.
know,
It's time for
it's
bedtime.
time for bedtime. You heard it, right? You heard it here first. But we have to get that in.
Yeah.
I'm glad Petra brought that up because that was interesting when I got to the medical. Because I'm wondering now, it's like, and what if all of us had to get medical requirements for citizens? Where would we go if we failed? You like say, oh, you failed the medical requirement. What you want to do?
What do you need to pass?
What do you need
What would
to
make you fail
pass?
it?
Yeah, what would make you fail the medical requirement?
I will look it up.
Citizenship.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
Hello, McFly.
I'm gonna post the information on the FreeZoneWith FreeZone page. To find out more medical requirements because, you know, when anytime it comes to immigration, nothing can be simple. They gotta complicate the whole damn thing.
Well, let's just hope that this gets passed tomorrow and that.
Yes.
Yeah, and we will worry about the medical requirements later. All right. Final words, starting with Melinda.
Thank you all for joining us today, and like I said, hopefully we can get this through math class and to bring some relief to our dreams.
Guys, Petra. See, I get a right word.
No, I'm just wanna say wish you all the best. Hopefully make it through the next week with the current situation. Please don't stay up. I mean, well, don't forget North Korea is still on the board. They were talking about that today. So we never know when the last day is going to be currently. They pulled everybody out of Cuba. Or, yeah. So, yeah. Got it. So anyways.
Okay. Last word. Thank you for joining us. Remember to stay up and stay woke. And tune in next week. And we have someone that has a word after me. So let her have a word. And I agree. Bedtime. Peace out.
That ain't his bedtime. You know better than that.
I know.
You knew it was gonna run over, especially when you.